Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and today I'm here with just hopefully a short little video. I don't intend it to be a long one. Now, I've just been away for a long weekend. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed by the amount of work I've got to do and I just need to escape, probably just like everyone else, and I took a long weekend away and stayed with some friends up north, and they don't have Wi-Fi, so it was refreshing to know that I couldn't do internet, couldn't do anything other than on my phone, and I chose not to use my phone. Whenever I go away, because I'm a bit of a workaholic, I have to take something with me, whether it's fussy cutting, whether it's journaling, whether it's little painting on pages, whether it's just anything I take away. And I was unpacking when I came back last night and I thought, you know what, this might be a good example to show you something. Okay, this is what went with me this time. Just this little box, and what I did is I put it into a plastic bag, tied the end of the bag so nothing fell out, and this was what I was working on when I'm away. So I had 3 different sorts of cotton with me. I had a little pair of scissors, and this is just a little folder that I keep my needles in. And basically it's a whole box of just scraps. So if I'm doing something with fabric, I'll tear little strips off and I'll just throw them in here. If I've got offcuts of lace in here, they go as well. They're just anything I want to throw in here, and I don't care about strings, I don't care about threads. And then what I do is I make little button snippet clusters, I call them, and I turn them into these things. And these I don't think I just create. We're going to make one while I'm here today, just to show you the sort of things I do. And I don't care about the color combinations. I just literally grab them out and sew them, and they're so quick and easy. And I did these while we were just watching some TV one night, and it's just one of those things I like to keep my hands busy. And the other things I use are buttons. Now, I think we've all got a tin of buttons or a jar of buttons. All I usually do is I take a handful out of here, put it into a little Ziploc or little plastic bag, and that's all I do. And I just dip into whatever they are. I don't pre-select. I just literally stick my hand in, and that's it. So let's put that to one side. So let's just put the box there and make one. And then we're going to try and use one of them in a project. Maybe I think I'll do a tag or journal card. Might do a tag. I've got blank tags around me. So these are the 3 generic colours I normally carry. I don't tend to carry white because whenever I'm doing anything, it usually is on a cream background or a vintage type feel anyway, and white is a bit stark. I'm not usually using black. This is a dark grey. This is probably the colour I use most, and I'll use this light grey instead of a white. So I'm just going to use that today. It's a great way to use up partly used thread, cotton reels as well, stuff like that. Now you're not going to be able to see this thread on here, so let's not even pretend to be straining our eyes to do it. The only straining is probably going to be me threading a needle. So bear with me while I just pop this onto here. There you go, that wasn't too painful. Now I normally do double the thread, and then I tie the ends together just in a simple knot, just to finish off the end so it's not going to pull through. I mean, I don't need to teach people to sew. It's just, it is what it is. So I then take my box of stuff. I normally grab for a little piece of lace first. That's quite a big piece actually. Just work for something smaller. Yeah, that's a small enough piece. So I'll normally grab a piece of lace, and then I'll literally come in and I'll pull 2 other pieces to go with it. I can do as many different sizes or colours as I want. It doesn't bother me. I've got this bag of pieces here, or box of pieces, and I just work my way through. So I've got that, put them together, so they don't fall over the place into the other one. And then I'll dive my hand in, I'll grab a button, and I'll see what button appeals to me. Right, I've got a little green one there, that's fine, that works for me. And I never know what project they're going to be used on, and I'm just coming in from the back. Why won't you go through there? Right, let's do it another way. Let's come up through there and then go through the hole. Usually where I've got my finger and thumb pressed together, I can usually judge where the hole is. So I usually go through this a few times just just to get it all nicely sewn together. I don't need it to be too secure because it's going to be glued to something else anyway. You could actually stitch these onto a journal cover. Maybe a selection of these would be the focal point of a journal cover. You could even use them on clothing. I mean, if you do these little pieces up, you could even, say, get a denim jacket and sew a couple of these across the shoulders or something. There's lots of ways of using these. I mean, they're not just for journaling, but that's how I use them. So I've gone through there a few times just so there's enough visible thread. And I come in from the back and I'll just thread it through and tie it off in a knot. I tend to do that 2 or 3 times just because I don't want it coming unravelling as it's stored in my box or the jar I'm keeping them in. Just literally, that's enough. That will do for that. And I just snip off there. Now, I don't normally worry about any threads hanging out the sides. I would normally pull off any spare threads just before I use it. So, right. I think we've all got that. That's not rocket science how to do that. That was just how I do it. And what we'll do is we'll take a real quick look at some of the little ones I've done so far. So that's the one we've just done. Let's clear the decks a little bit for you. So as you can see, they're just random pieces of fabric that I've just clustered together. There's always snippets on the go. I mean, I quilt and I do fabric covers and stuff like that. And friends of mine who also sew will just keep me the offcuts. You can do this with ribbon as well. I mean, if you've got the end of a ribbon or ribbon from gift packing, you can use them as well. And buttons, there's so many buttons in my life. There's tins of buttons in my family. I come from a family who sews. So the thing is, there's always buttons. Oh, that's a cute one. There's always buttons. And half the time I just don't look at what I'm doing. I just dive my hand in and pull out a button snippet cluster, as I think I'm calling them nowadays. So let's just do something. So I've got a gift tag here, standard size gift tag. Yeah, this isn't pre-bought. I think this is out of a file folder, to be honest with you. So let's put the lid on the buttons and put the buttons off to one side. And I know I want to make this up. And we're going to use one of the clusters, and I'll use a few other things as we go along. So I think first of all, I'm going to bring in a glue book, and I'm going to bring in a Pritt stick or a glue stick. Right, let's have a little think about this. I'm probably going to use book page. I know. Right, I've got some sewing pattern here. Just your run-of-the-mill sewing pattern. You can get these easily in thrift shops, car boot sales, garage sales, things like that. And I'm just going to tear a piece out of the middle of this. Because there's sewing involved, I'm going to use a bit of sewing pattern. I found them very interesting. I do have a video on my channel where I actually rubber stamp onto sewing pattern, so I can use it for that. So there's always that. I think that'll work well. Don't know that I want the simplicity sign at the top though. Nothing against people knowing which pattern it is. It just is a bit too bold for what I'm looking for. So that'll work. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually glue my tag. I'm doing it this way. I could glue the back of the sewing pattern and there wouldn't be a problem with that, but it's just easier if I do the tag because there's going to be something all over this tag anyway. So I'm going to come in, just going to lay this down. About there, feels about right to me. Right, well, I've got on my go. Let's get the glue book out of the way for a second. I'm going to use a card. This is my old London Oyster card before the pandemic happened. So, but you could use just a piece of card. You could use an old door key. You could use an old credit card, anything like that. I tend to use that. Now, I'm going to cut the edges off eventually anyway, so I'm not going to worry about that just yet. I'm going to let that be. Right, so that's the start of it. Is it perfectly straight? Heck, is that perfectly straight? The answer is no. But I'm not going to worry. This is just a little tiny exercise in how I could quickly turn just a regular tag into something else. So let's see, I've got a bit of book page here. Of quite old book page by the feel of this. So let's take a strip off the side there. I think I want a bit of book page along the bottom there. Again, not really worrying about anything about straight lines, straight edges, anything like that. I'm going to use my tear ruler here because if that's a straight-ish edge, it'll make it a little bit easier for me to work with. Oh, there's numbers on this side. I wonder whether I want the numbers instead. I might do the numbers instead and then do another bit of paper down around here that's actually text. Right, that'll work for me. I'm not really keen on majorly sharp edges when it comes to the top edge, so let's just take that edge off. Again, come in with a bit of glue stick. Are you shot? You're in shot for that, okay. Take that off there. Pop it onto there. Smooth it down. So again, I'm just adding a little bit of interest on that. Let's take the garbage out of the way, over to there. Let's take this book page and fold it over. I do tend to, the better quality book pages, I tend to keep and recycle, and there are videos on how I do that. Some book pages, if they're really antiquated and old and I can't use them for anything other than collage, there are some I do throw away, I must admit, but I don't keep all of them, but I keep most of them. Right. I think I wanted a bit of text in here somewhere. I'm feeling over here, to be honest. So I think maybe I need to take this edge off here. Oh, no fingernails. I think I want to take that edge off there, just in case. Let's move that to one side. Right, I'm going to go taller than my tag actually is and just tear it down. Lots of people ask me, why do you put things where you put things on a piece of collage or a tag or a journaling card or something like that? And I can't actually answer that question because a lot of the time I just do it purely by instinct. I'm just going to pop that up there. I'd like to go higher than the edge of the tab. Tag, not tab. I keep calling it a tab, don't I? Ignore me, I'm having an out-of-body experience, people. So, right, we've got the beginnings of that. It will all come to shape when I actually trim it down. Right, I'm looking here, and I would like something across there. I'm wondering. I've got a box of tickets here. I wonder whether... those feel a bit... I don't know, they don't feel right, let's put it that way. Again, instinct kicking in. Right, I've got these thinner tickets here. I wouldn't mind that there. It does need me a little bit there though. Yes, actually, if I just stick that down, bear with me a minute. Remember, you would take so much more time than I'm doing. I'm literally speed demming because I want to keep the video quite short, but I also want to give you something that's worthwhile as an example of how I would use them. And I think I'll put this one right along the end so it's in a different orientation to the first one. Go on up here, come. Right, let's put that in there. Give that a bit of a smush down. Right, so I think I've got a good enough background going on there, and it is purely a background. I had no intention of leaving the one completely in the center. It just happened that way. There could be something else that goes on this page, I'm not sure. Just close my glue up for a second. Right, where are we up to with this? So I think, come here. I'm just going to take a pair of scissors now and cut my way around the edges of this. I would normally wait until this was fully dried because things like the tissue and paper cut better when the project's fully dried. That feels like it's not glued down. It isn't glued down. I must have missed a bit. Let's just put a little bit of glue on that while it's over on my book page. Let me just smooth that bit down again. Yes, as I was saying, they do cut a lot better when everything's dried. But I don't think you want to wait around for that, do you? snip that off there, and off there, off there. Okay, get rid of the rubbish again. Okay, for anyone who wants to know the exact sizes of this, I just cut this, so I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's almost 6 3/4 inches by, what is that, 3.5 wide, which if I do it in centimetres and millimetres, because I know that some of you like that, it's 17 centimetres by 2 notches under 9 centimetres. That's 85, 86, 88 millimetres. There you go. Okay. Anyone who knows me, I'm mathematically challenged. So, right, so we've got a good basis on here. Maybe I need to think of something else to put on here. But first of all, I'm going to come in with some vintage photo distressing, just to give this a touch of character, because what this will do is it will frame this all out for me and help me decide maybe colour schemes, maybe how I want to finish this off. Do I want a person on here? Do I want a flower? Do I want... probably not a butterfly. I don't think I'm in the mood for a butterfly today. So I've kept it quite a neutral background. Actually, I know what I might be able to do. I just had a thought. As we're heading towards autumn, maybe I'll make this a little more autumnal than I would normally. So, okay, that sparked an idea. Right, so already, and I know there's going to be a hole punched in here, which I'll deal with in a bit. So as you can see now, I've just built myself an absolutely basic background. I've left this quite open because I know there's something going to be on top of there. So right, I had a thought. Let's have a thought and have another one. Okay, I keep jars of stuff. This is jars of die cuts, and I just remembered in here I've got some Tim Holtz leaves. Don't ask me what the die set is. I can't off the top of my head remember what it is. That's quite nice and dramatic, isn't it? I wonder that I do that with 2 of them. Let's have a look. And all I've done is, these are just out of offcuts from my gel printing, and I've just drawn the veins in on them just to give me something of interest. That's quite a nice one as well. Like that with that. I might get a little bit lost in there though. Let's see if I can find one that's a bit more punchy. Come here. As you can see, I prefer jars with larger leaves, jars with larger openings. Okay, there's something there, I'm not sure what it is at the moment. I'm going back to this one all the time because I like that one. I wonder if I put... Are those two too predictable, do you think? I think they might just be... What was on the other side of this one? Grey. You know, maybe we'll just think of the one leaf. I don't know. As I said, this was unplanned. I'm just literally turning the camera on and seeing where we go from here. So let's put that jar out of the way. Right, so I like that. I would like it to have a little bit more shading around the edge. What's the other side? Oh, the other side was daisies. I don't think daisies are going to work for me today. Right, so I've got something that's maybe a focal point, maybe part of a focal point, not sure which. I'm going to pull in my glittered glue because I know I'm going to be using that at the moment. We'll look for a button cluster at the end of this to actually match this. What else do I want on here? Do I want anything else on here? Do you know, I'm just going to stick this down, and that way I'm committed to it then. You could use PVA glue for this. You could use anything that basically sticks paper to paper. I like art glittered glue because it grabs quite quickly, so let's put you in there. Let's give it a good old press for a few seconds. I could use a Tim Holtz person, I suppose, but is is that too predictable? Because I tend to use them quite often. Let's put the lid back on the glue. Right, so we've got this far. I do know there has to be other things on here because it's just not enough at the moment for me. I need this to be more interested. Right, these are basically, actually it's a nice one. These are basically just offcuts of coffee dyed paper and stuff like that. And I tend to, I don't mind that there actually. I tend to stamp them, and that gives me something to play with. That's a bit too large for what I'm thinking. There's a bit of a Tim Holtz one. I don't mind that. It's becoming very numbery, isn't it? I'm kind of drawn to the 60, and I don't know why. 271 could work. I'm drawn to the 6. Oh, this is 64. Now let's stay with the 60. I like those two. Those are working for me. Right, I'm just going to come in. I'm literally going to use glue stick to put the number on. That feels like it's vellum or something. I'm not quite sure what that is. So let me just stick this on. Is it straight? Possibly. Can you see that? This is where we're up to at the moment, guys. Sorry if that's a little far away. I didn't realise that my camera was so high up. Hopefully you've been able to see everything. Or that makes this video a bit of a waste of time, doesn't it? Right, I'm going to put this on. I'm going to use Pritt stick. If it does eventually come off, I can always reattach it with a bit of whatever this is called, art glitter glue. You can see I'm still in holiday mode, can't you? Or vacation mode. My brain hasn't quite clicked back into gear at the moment. Right, so I'm up to this. Right, I might want to now think about a cluster. So let's just pull the clusters out and do a little bit of auditioning and see whether we can. Are we still in shot? We are still in shot. See if I can find one that, actually that's quite cute. Just so you can see how the character of the tag would change as you put different ones on. Quite like that background, but that colour feels wrong. That's too bright. It doesn't. There's one that's got an orange in it. Ooh, that's a nice one. Well, you know what? I think that's the one. I know it's very squared. I think that's going to work. Right, put those by. That was faster than I thought that was going to be. So I'm going to bring in some Fabri-Tac. My brain is just shutting down on me today, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's come in. I'm going to put that on. Now, when I put Fabri-Tac on one of these to attach them, I always put a daub in the middle just so that I know the knot is totally sealed. Put the lid on this before I knock this over. It's a brand new one, so I don't want to be losing that. And I want to line that up in that corner there. Give that a few seconds. I like that. That's working for me. Now, I do know that for me at the moment, this feels a little unbalanced, but I do know I'm probably going to put something through the top, and then at that point, I'll consider, does it need something else? I'm looking at this thinking, I would quite like a label on here. I know there's lots on there, but I don't mind over clustering, if there is such a word as over clustering. Right, this is a box of labels that I make myself. So these are just made out of rice paper, tissue paper, whatever I fancy, I stamp on them. There are videos, guys, of me doing this. Definitely videos. So I'll try and find one that actually calls for me. I wish that was smaller, because if that was smaller, I'd add that. And it may be that my choice of feeling that I need a label is the wrong choice. It may not need a label. This is the sort of thing I was thinking of. I'd like it to have had a bit of a coloured background or something. It's a cute little one. Oh, and these are ones just cut out of rice paper, which are interesting because when you put a rice paper one down, of course you glue it down, it actually takes up whatever's behind it. That's a cute little one. It's just a tiny little daisy. I don't know, I'm being drawn down to this space down here. Is that too lined up? Oh wait, there's a hexagonal one there. This is calling me to me, guys, and I can't. Oh look, there's a leaf one. Oh, pity that's not smaller. That's a nicer one. They're all feeling just ever so slightly too big for me, but I quite like the way that one looks. That makes it very weighted at the bottom, so we'll put it on. There it is. This is about the size I'm looking for, to be honest. So I don't know that I've got any in here that I feel like reaching for. I mean, there's little ones. This will definitely need something down here, and what it is, I do not know. I think that's going to go up there. Just while I'm in the label, actually, I know what I'll do. Let's put these labels by. Let's get that one stuck down, and then I'll share with you what I'm going to do next. So I've just had an idea, and anyone who knows me will know probably what the idea is, because I reach for them a lot, and that's because I love them, and they're made by a very special friend of mine. So I'm just going to pop this on here. Excuse me while I hopefully don't get my head in the way. Just want to, oh, did I hit you with my head that time? Let's make sure that's straight. Yep, straight enough. Right. So what I was thinking of, where are you? I've just had a bit of a reshuffle in my workshop, and trying to find stuff is all over the place now. So these are my Tracy Fox labels, and I just had a little remembrance that actually Tracy Fox has mushrooms. I wish they were a little bit smaller. I don't think they did come any smaller. I think this was the only size. That's a pity. That would have been a really nice touch. If I'd have thought about that before I put that on. There's nothing saying I can't go across the top of it. Actually, I wonder whether I could just... having an idea. I think if I cut the edges off here, so effectively cutting the label so it's no longer a label, it's actually just an image. I apologise, Tracy Fox. Tracy Fox's Love Junk Journals on Etsy. I highly recommend going over to her shop. She has so many fabulous digitals. She puts me to shame. My Etsy shop really does need some serious work. Thank you for all of you who continue to support me in that. However, I do also apologise that I haven't added a new digital for what I'd say is probably close to a year, which is absolutely shameful. But I just seem to be struggling with time management all lately, so... But there are plans afoot. There are definitely plans afoot. So I've just taken that and I've cut out the centre of it. I'm just going to vintage photo the edges just to age that up so it's not so stark and in your face. And I'm going to get the good old glue stick back in again. You still in shot? We're still in shot barely, but we're in shot. Off you come. There you go. And I think that's probably all it needed down there. Let's press it down with that. Yes, I like that. That's nice. Looking at that now, I'm wondering because I've got that, whether I should have a specimen label on here as well. And yes, I'm really loading this tag up, aren't I? Let's go back to the Lady Fox and see what is in here. I know she has some wonderful little specimen labels. That will do. I'm going to put that one on there. Now, I tend to think that when you're doing ephemera, well, actually, it's probably more than ephemera. I tend to go in one or two directions. I either keep things incredibly simple, or as in this, well, actually, I want to straighten that up. I don't like that on an angle. Or as you're seeing here, I tend to go completely over the top. And I do a huge amount. But either way, I try not to judge something until it's completely and utterly finished. Because, to be honest with you, why would you? I'm looking at this and I've got this idea that I want to add one more thing. But before I do that, I do want to put the topper on it. So I've got a couple of hole punches. I've got one that's just a regular round punch. And I've got this that's a slot punch. So I'm just going to turn this over and pop a slot in there. I like to use the slot punch. I just got this on eBay. I think it's called a slot punch. I think it's for identity tags or things like that. So if you're looking for a hole punch or a slot punch, if you put in identification tags or things like that in, it might come up then. It's been so long since I bought these, I couldn't tell you where I actually got them from. So I thought I'd put enough of that on there. It's just got a little bit of a brown in there. Now what I've got here is I've got some sari silk here, and I had in mind that I was going to put sari silk on. I'm wondering whether the yellow would be nicer actually. Let's put the yellow on. It's got a bit of a punch of colour. If I can find the end of the sari silk. And there it is, a little held with a pin. This, by the way, is just, it's an MDF door hanger that you would make a do not disturb sign or something like that from. I had a good deal on them at one point, so I bought a chunk of them, and I used them to actually just wrap my my sari silks around. Let's just stick that one back in. Because you know what sari silk is like. Yes, it's fabulous, but it goes everywhere unless you look after it. Oops, and there's the end of that. Get in there, will you? There you go. So, right, so I've got my bit of sari silk. Do I want anything else in there? Is that going to be enough, do you think? It's a bit of a busy tag already. That might be okay. Give me a little second. Now, I had a little look. I didn't like anything I saw, so I'm just going to come in here. So let's see, it's pushes. I'm going to push this in from the front actually. Push it from the front, loop it through. Pull it upwards. Okay, I think that complements that quite nicely. Okay, I do think I want something there though. I keep thinking, do I not? And actually I think I do. So let me just have a little think. Wondering whether I've got a little tiny moth or a little something that would go there. So let's pull out the boxes. Right, this is my box that pretty much everything with wings goes to. That's about the right size, but it's definitely the wrong colour. Trying to think autumnal. Now, I'm not even sure whether the butterflies are still alive in the autumn, to be honest. But I thought maybe this might be a nice way to add a little something to this tag. There's almost a pop of colour. That's actually quite nice, but it's a bit stark. And if I could find a moth, I'd be quite happy if it was the right moth. It's quite a large moth. That's not the one I'm looking for. And it could be that I won't find one. Pink. Ooh, pink's the wrong colour, definitely. Is that the one I just pulled out before? I think we're going to do that. I think if I edge the wings with a bit of vintage photo, that will probably just be enough to tone that down for me to use. So let's take that around there. And let's just stick this on with a bit of, it is cardstock, but it should be fine. It's only a small piece. The only disadvantage is that it'll eat my glue stick up. And that's fine. My glue stick will live to see another day. I'll just see if I line that up. Okay, I think that's okay. So there you go. That's just a little tag. We've used one of the button snippet cluster things. I don't know what they're really called. That's just what I'm going to call them. So hopefully you can see that. Just lots of different layers. This is a bit long for me, to be honest. This needs a bit of a snip down. There's long and there's long. And these little bits will actually just go straight into this box because I can layer up using those as well. So hopefully you enjoyed that. That was just an example of how I make these things. And they're a travel with me thing. I don't travel with these if I was flying, obviously, because there's needles and scissors and things like that. And you know that security probably wouldn't let those through, but you could throw it in your luggage and collect it at the other end. So that's how I use these sort of things. I make them up, I put them in a box. Well, I usually just put them back in that box, actually. And there you go. So hopefully you enjoyed that. As I said, it was a little something different from me. And maybe you'll find it useful. It's a great way to use up scraps. I've called them button fabric clusters or snippets, whatever I name them in the title. I don't know. I know they're not new. Someone is bound to have done them before. I'm absolutely certain they've done them before. I can't be that clever to have thought this up. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. This is me saying goodbye. So I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's C-E-R-I the Crafter. Until next time. Bye-bye now.